Hi, in many of my videos you might be seeing me walking around the neighborhood as I talk in front of a camera, wondering how conspicuous I must look. But I do love hiking around, and it started on this street over here, the street that I grew up on. When I was about 3, 4, 5 years old, I would always go outside where my grandpa was, and it was at nighttime, and we just decided to just go on small walks, and I would call it there and back. And that's exactly what we would do. We would go down the street and come back. Sometimes we go across the park and go by the 17th Street Promenade, Thrifties that used to be there. I just thought I'd show you a couple of routes that were taken over the years. And over around here, there would be a couple of houses with interesting lighting fixtures. So that was one of our hikes that we would go. We would go down the street and turn left, and sometimes we would turn right and cross the park and go over by the 17th Street Promenade. There used to be a very popular store that we would love to go to called Thrifties, and I remember the night my grandpa and I walked over there, and there was like nothing inside, and my grandpa looked down, kind of gave a wail and said, "No more Thrifties." And what was on my mind were those yo-yos, because some nights we would go over there and get yo-yos. I was intrigued with yo-yos because I didn't know how to get the darn thing to work. One day, after perseverance, I got it to work. And then one day when I got older, like maybe 7 years old, about 6 or 7, I started to talk to my mom about, when I was younger, my grandpa and I would go on night hikes. And why we didn't call them hikes, my mom actually called them hikes. But we started to go on walks, starting with that route that I first showed you, starting with that. And then from there we just developed our own routes, our own itineraries. And we came up with quite a few of them. We started going to parks in our hikes, and we found a couple of them. And so a couple of years later, toward the end of elementary school, I came up with the 5-park hike. At this point, we would usually cross the street and then go to Starbucks and then sit there for like about 5 red lights and just watch the cars go by, enjoying a mocha frappuccino. And then we would come back and turn around and continue this way. So as you can see, I'm now going up a whole bunch of stairs, and it doesn't end here. This is like a neat nature walk, having a lot of stairs, but I love stairs and everything. But I call this a park. It was included in my 5-park hike. There wasn't a jungle gym or anything, but I always loved coming by here, walking up the stairs and walking across the bridge and everything. I remember one time my mom and I was walking up there, and we saw, like a couple, I believe it was this bench, and they were enjoying a Wendy's, having like fries and everything. So that gave us a good idea. Maybe one day we'll have a picnic here. These stairs used to be all wooden back in the day, or at least the handles, and one time I actually touched a large spider. And that was our reclining bench that you see behind me over there. And we would just sit there and have that amazing view. Here's a little bit of commentary about Cliff Drive Park. One time I came back from school and my mom said that she was hiking around the neighborhood herself and found this park, Cliff Drive Park. The jungle gym been built when I was probably in 4th or 5th grade, but they had another one before this. And as the years went on and we would take these hikes, I would literally run all the way around here, and I would literally run down the hill as fast as I could because I always loved running. And my mom would always take the stairs. It was a blast. As you saw, we just turned the corner, and sometimes we would and sometimes we would go straight back, because if we kept on walking straight we would hit our street, turn right, and just walk down to our house. It all depended on my mother. Sometimes she got tired after all that so far, but sometimes she had enough energy to go down this way. Now what we're approaching is Bolsa Park, and I remember discovering this probably in 2nd or 3rd grade. We were walking and we just happened to find it, and then one day we were trying to find it again, and I mean this is like a maze in here, all these streets, and I just kept on making a 50-50 guess and I found it. So now we're heading toward Bolsa Park. And here we are at Bolsa Park. It's a small park, and you see that highway back there? Okay, it's not really a highway, but I think it was the first time that we've ever been to that park, and my mom's boss just drove by and we recognized him. He didn't see us, but I just thought it was neat. It's like, what are the chances? And now back to the labyrinth, but I kind of could be able to orient myself through here now. Just walked by a 3-story house which impressed me when I was very young, and then this, all the plants and the grass that used to be here, it used to be all dirt and everything. Now we're heading down my old street, and sometimes we would go a little bit farther to visit our old house and then backtrack and go to the next park. Or we would just turn left up here and then just go down the next park. I'm just thankful that the jungle gym is still there, even though I can't play on it. At least I could just walk by and just, reminisce. I mean, I must have played on that like hundreds and hundreds of times at least. I'm also thankful that Bolsa Park and Cliff Drive Park still has its original jungle gym, or at least for the most part. A chapter in my book is titled Changes, and it talks about how changes are, sentimental and sometimes hard for me because it's attached to, childhood. I know that a lot of people could relate to that. Also in my book, I explain why I like hiking, and now I want to verbatimly tell you here in this video why I like hiking. It's a catharsis. It's a release. Over the years, I found hiking to be, it brings back memories, and it also gives me, a chance to escape and just think and review some stuff. Oftentimes when I was writing what later became a trilogy, I would think of stories while I was hiking. I would literally go over and create stories in my mind, storylines and conversations, and then once I got home I would rush to the Word document and start typing the best I could remember. And I want to credit hiking around the neighborhood for that, as well as, maybe rehearsing for things or going over some things. There's been tons of, hikes over the past several years that I wish I never took. A lot of, people in the neighborhood who are just discriminate over autism and me just for being who I am. I could tell you stories of what happened during some of the hikes, like in June 2014, or maybe a question like what happened to me on August 18th to the 19th, 2017 at Heller Park. Perhaps when I'm ready, I'll make a video and explain it. But for the most part, I love hiking. It's a catharsis, good exercise and such. It brings back memories from being in all throughout elementary school and such. Over the years and years of hiking, I've seen, tons of changes in the community. Houses torn down, houses rebuilt, businesses going up and down, new stores, new restaurants, trees that were trimmed. I don't know, I think I just place special emphasis on quite a few things. One day, my mother and I were hiking around the neighborhood, and we noticed a big stick on the ground, and my mother had the idea, hey, your hiking stick. So I would start to walk around the neighborhood with a hiking stick whenever my mother and I would just hike around. And here we are at Pinkley Park. Now I've got to say that the jungle gym is actually brand new, unfortunately, but also fortunately, because it actually looks better than the one that they had before. But still, the one they had before is attached to several years of memories. Also, starting in probably circa 2006 in late elementary school, my grandfather, mother, and I one day went over to the Back Bay, the Upper Newport Back Bay, and started hiking around, and that was very memorable. Needless to say, I earned the hiking merit at Royal Rangers as well. As you see behind me in Pinkley Park, you see a walkway, sidewalk over there, but that wasn't always there. It used to be totally grass until a few years ago. And that's it, all 5 parks. Well, asterisk, that one of the parks is more like well, I call it a stairs park, but I don't think it's officially a park. But still, I remember the very first time we ever got to do all of it, and we left at 3:30, and I was like, I remember when I first started hiking, I thought, well, we have more than enough time. We almost turned back and went home, but my mother and I continued because I decided, oh well. But the reason why is because I like evening hikes, not where the sun is that high in the sky. I like it where it's more evening, but by the time we got back, it was dark, so we wouldn't have had much daylight anyway. And believe me, I would tell everybody about the hike, especially teachers at Newport Heights Elementary School. I would draw out the itinerary, and a couple of times, even on my spare time, because I basically had the entire route memorized, sometimes the names of the streets and everything. In middle school, I totally dwarfed that hike, and it became something like the mega 5-park hike. And when we got to Cliff Drive Park, instead of turning right to Starbucks, we would turn left, go all the way up the hill, all the way down to Ensign Intermediate School, all the way down the hill, and then come all the way down PCH to the Starbucks. And the first time we did it, it was like 2 hours and 34 minutes exactly, and then the second time was 3 hours and 5 minutes, and the third time was like 3 hours and 25 or 30 minutes, so it was quite interesting. Right before senior year of high school, and especially all throughout college, from when I first entered college in 2013 to the present day, I would just go on solo hikes around the neighborhood, and yeah, it was a catharsis and such. It cleared my mind a lot, and it just made me think I could escape from the troubles of the day and just, sometimes create stories that I would use in my trilogy, what ended up being a trilogy. And yeah, so that's me and hiking and such. Again, great exercise, and it was all wonderful. So around 2013, 2014, especially when I got back into hiking and doing solo hikes, I came up with, alternate itineraries that are sort of similar, and maybe one day I could take you through that hike as well. Okay, well, just to conclude this video, just don't give up on what you want to do in life. Never give up. Just keep on going for it, persevere, try hard, and you shall succeed. So have a great day.